Alabama got their quarterback yesterday, so who's next?
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, welcome back into Locked On Bama, AHSA Radio Network's Luke Robinson. That's me. Alabama internet legend Jimmy Stein. That's him. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. We'll talk about Monarch Money in just a bit. I want to thank you every day for being here every day. Thank you, newbies, for being here today. And thanks to everybody for making this your first listen every single day. You guys are the best. Jimmy. So Jett Thomalla, we did an emergency podcast yesterday on him. I would highly recommend everybody go back and check that out. He's a dude. And ironically, right after, I said, hey, if y'all really want to be inspired by this cat, go check out his basketball highlights. Well, then like 3 hours later, his basketball highlights were making the rounds on Twitter like nobody's business. And it dawned on me that this guy might be sort of Riley Leonard-ish.
Oh, wow.
Because Riley Leonard was a hell of a basketball player.
Really was.
I mean, he was a dude. Could have played basketball at the next level.
I think he even had a South Alabama offer, which is fairly significant. I know that's not the SEC, but that's fairly significant. I know SEC, I knew the story because I know Riley and his family and his girlfriend's family is really close. But, yeah, he was even known by SEC coaches. They knew who he was. So, he was a great basketball player. I like that comp. I think Tamala might be a little bit more of a gifted passer in the sense big and strong. I've read reviews from day one of the Elite 11 camp. 24/7 has one. Rivals has one. Of course, On 3 has one. They all three have rankings, and it's funny to me. Tamala, by the way, didn't stand out in the rankings yesterday, but it's a multiple day event. They do some different things every day. Then you add it all up at the end. So it's kind of like, well, he's not leading after the first quarter, so don't panic. But there was a consistent theme with Tamala, and that is great frame, big arm. And, those are the sort of things that get scouts running. I mean, that's exact. I mean, you want to attract some Major League Baseball scouts to a high school baseball field, say there is this huge kid that throws 90 plus. And now there's 20 scouts in the front row. That's kind of Tamala, right? Per the early returns from the people that are there watching. But one thing funny to me, and this is just the way it works, there were some consistencies in the rankings, like Dia Bell, who's going to Texas, Kayshawn Henderson, who's going to Houston, Brandon Faison, who's going to Tennessee. They were consistently near the top in all these different rankings. But everything else, pretty much everything else was wildly different. Landon Duckworth, for instance, was number 2 on one thing, is the second best guy yesterday, then was like outside the top 10 on others, so that's where you're going to get the subjective. I mean, nothing is truer than beauty's in the eye of the beholder at quarterback workouts, because they're not playing football. Keep in mind, they're not playing football. For all of you listening that play golf and understand this is a lot like going to the driving range and picking out who the best golfers are, watching them hit balls on the driving range. Yeah. I mean, if you got a great eye, if you're Butch Harmon, you're going to have a really good eye for who's the best. But it's hard to do. It's not playing golf. It's not scoring on the golf course, which is all that matters. So they're not playing football there, and that's one reason not to go overboard with any takes. But Tamala didn't seem to light it up day one rankings wise amongst the recruiting services that were there. I don't read too deeply into it, but again, they all mention big kid, big arm, and that's where it all starts.
We didn't expect him to light it up. And here's another thing. I'm not sure I want him to light it up. Of course you want him to do well, but do I want Jett Thomalla to blow up on the scene so much that he goes from a very, very nice mid-range to high 4-star player of the year in Nebraska to a, oh my God,
so this year's
Oregon and Michigan and Ohio State and Tennessee now are like, we might need this dude. We might have to overpay for it. What I'm saying is,
I think the kid that's happening with, by the way, the very thing you're describing, I think that's going to be Bryson Beaver.
I think now you're absolutely right there. And
Mhm.
that's another reason I'm kind of glad we're out of that, because we need a quarterback.
Mhm.
We don't want to overpay for a quarterback this year.
Mhm.
And we need a quarterback that can be good, that also understands, hey, I'm probably not playing my first year. And I just think that financially, I think that for team chemistry, I think all of this, it's best for us to have Tamala be right where he is. I'm
Yep.
totally cool with this. Now, if somebody said, "Hey, Brandon Faison wants to commit to Alabama tomorrow," of course you will take it, and he's coming no matter what. Okay, of course you will take it. I'm I'm just saying that this isn't a bad scenario. This
Mhm.
is a pretty good scenario for Alabama. It's really kind
It
of
really is.
almost best. It's close to best case.
More news that came out of Elite 11 interviews. Of course, Wilt Fong from On Three is out there. Of course, all the services really, run to this thing because all their guys are there at once. Uh, Wilt Fong interviewing guys was told by multiple quarterbacks there that Alabama is telling all these kids they intend to take two. So Alabama is continuing to recruit Matt Ponatowski. They're continuing to recruit Bryson Beaver. They got the kid Kawa that's coming in from Utah this weekend, that was born and raised in Hawaii. He's coming in this weekend. I think he's the most realistic second quarterback, the most realistic one. Ponatowski seems to be enamored with Kentucky a bit right now. Bryson Beaver's blowing up. I mean, he might end up being, for lack of a better word, in this new world, pricey. The way that Bryson Beaver's blowing up, and I'm thinking he might end up at Oregon maybe. But so I think Kawa that's coming in this weekend's most likely to be the second guy if Alabama's insistent on taking two. It could be, hey, we're interested in two. It's got to be the right two. I'm going to be a broken record with this, but just get used to it in the new world. You got to make the money work. You can't overspend, especially, if you're going to take two, the money has to work for that to happen. I do think taking two makes some level of sense because Ty Simpson's draft eligible. Austin Mack could get frustrated. This is also the world that you deal with. If Ty goes pro and Austin Mack leaves, you'll be glad you took two because now the room has some depth issues. But you never know how that's going to work out. I don't think the coaches operate on, well, we know we're going to lose this guy and we know this guy's coming back. They operate more on what we need today because tomorrow is extremely difficult, if not foolish to predict.
Yeah, it's just such a new world. We say this over and over again. I know people get tired of it, but when we start talking about it and we get into the weeds a little bit, I'm like, oh my God, this is so much to unpack. Like, can you imagine being a coach right now?
How about this new angle that I hadn't thought of before? Every school's going to approach us a little differently, but there's something about recruiting rankings, and somebody else kind of mentioned it, and then I kind of ran with it mentally about what this could mean about recruiting rankings. See, rosters are expanding. I mean, scholarships are now moving up to 105. Some schools are just going to start signing kids in an effort to get to that 105 number. I won't be surprised if this 2026 signing class, someone out there is going to sign 40. I mean, and when I say someone, multiple schools could sign like 40 kids this time around because rosters are expanding, right? Other schools, and I think Alabama is more likely to be in this category, other schools will sign fewer kids, even though rosters are expanding. Why? Because you can pay them more money. I mean,
you can pay the good ones more money. Yeah,
you can pay the good ones more money. I mean, when you got 40 kids, how are you paying them all? If you sign 19 kids, paying them quite a bit. Do y'all want?
I wonder if there'll ever be a thing, Jimmy, where if you're, let's say you're a left tackle,
yep,
and let's say the starter, and let's go ahead and say the backup gets hurt.
Yeah.
And you have to bring, you have a guy that's on the roster that's way down there. I wonder if there'll come a time when you're like, hey, when we signed him, we're not paying him very much. But now that he's the starter, he's asking us, he's like, hey, I need a pay bump. I wonder if you do that in midseason.
I don't know if it'll happen mid-season or if there'll be the financial flexibility, but it's for that exact reason that you brought up. That people ask all the time, why don't you sign all these kids to multi-year deals so they can't leave and there'll be buyouts? Because that's, by the way, that is allowable. Under the new rules, you can have buyouts. For a player that transfer, you can do that. But it won't be commonplace, and this is why. For that reason that Luke just brought up, I think most schools will operate on one-year deals for that very fact that some kids you're all of a sudden going to have to pay them more money because they become the starter, or the cheap 2-3 star that you sign blows up and becomes a big thing. You got to pay him to keep him. So I think most schools will operate on 1-year deals. When you have 1-year deals, there won't be buyouts. You can't buy out a deal that's going to expire in just a couple of months. So I think most schools will stick with 1-year deals. But just watching the recruiting rankings for this weirdness about comparing a class at, let's say, Alabama signs 19 kids to USC, who signs 40 kids, and you somehow have to rank which class was better. I know you say, oh, you just go by the average.
Yeah, that doesn't work.
I'm not
either.
sure that's it's again more subjectiveness.
Well, and it's also depending on who needs what. I mean, look, if USC goes out and signs 2 5-star quarterbacks, but Alabama's already got 3 5-star quarterbacks on the roster, I mean, that it's not apples and oranges. I mean, it's all about needs. At the same time, I think what's going to happen with some of those teams that are going to sign 40, like you say, I see that as, boy, that is really short-sightedness, because if you sign 40, I think you're going to have a lot of people bolt. Yeah. Because, and so I think that it's going to be so much.
They all want to go where they all want to go where they want to go until they get there and see that they are not going to get on the field, and then they leave.
Yeah, that's right. Let's talk a little Monarch Money, because a lot of these kids, they're going to be needing Monarch Money to manage all this money they're getting. They've ever checked their bank account and wondered, hey, where'd all my money go? Between dining out and online shopping and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just another budgeting app. That's crazy talk. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop managing your money and you start building wealth. And that's the key. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money today. Use code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE. That's all one word, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for half off your first year at monarchmoney.com. Okay, so another commitment date was released yesterday or announced on Twitter. Kamari Brooks, he's down to Bama. He's down to Georgia, and he's going to make his announcement on June 23rd, which is in 5 days. I mean, so now, again, I don't have the list. I keep saying I'm going to print off this list of announcement dates because I'd be so smart, and I keep doing very dumb stuff by not doing it. But Sincere Johnson commits tomorrow. We expect it to be Ohio State. I'm not sitting. I would love for him to commit to Bama. I don't think he will. No. Then you've got E.J. Crowell coming up on the 26th. You now got Kamari Brooks in between them on the 23rd. Then you've got Xavier Griffin on the 29th. And then you roll into July, and it's like receiver heaven. July 1st is Brian Williams Jr. We expect him to commit to Bama. July 2nd is C.D. Morgan. We expect him to commit to Bama. And I know yesterday we talked about this when we're talking about Jett Thomalla too, that Tristan Keys was set to visit Alabama. And depending on who you believe, he either canceled his visit or Alabama canceled his visit. I'm going to tell you the truth. Even though I'm not a fan of this tactic, I'm pro Alabama canceling his visit, because why waste any resources here? If Alabama thinks they are getting C.D. Morgan, they're not going to also pay for Tristan Keys. I believe that wholeheartedly. Somebody can tell me I'm wrong. But I think money-wise, it doesn't make a ton of sense. I think you could also tick off C.D. Morgan potentially. And I want C.D. Morgan in this class. So
he's sort of the quote target. I mean, I think, and it's not that Tristan Keys is great. And I think they'll continue to recruit guys like Booby Feaster and other high-level receivers. We also have to remember when something appears lost in the translation, I can't tell y'all exactly what happened because, you kind of have to be in on phone conversations. But let's remember, all these high-ranking kids have agents. I mean, that's who you're talking to. I mean, they all have agents, and things happen in those conversations. But I'm with Luke. I don't see how it's realistic that C.D. Morgan and Tristan Keys are in the same class, and that leads us to a similar discussion with another player that Luke mentioned that's got an announcement soon, and that's Brooks from Georgia, the edge, that Kamari Brooks. He's down to Georgia and Alabama. Plays same position as Xavier Griffin from Georgia, who I think, to me, appears to be down to Texas and Alabama. That's what it looks like to me. I think there's maybe some others still in the mix there. I have a difficult time believing that you can make both of those work. I think it's kind of a Griffin or Brooks situation for Alabama, because it's kind of hard to imagine that you can get both Brooks and Griffin in at the same position, playing the same spot. Do they want to go to the same place? Can you afford to go to the same place? And then there's also this: Brooks may choose Georgia, Griffin may choose Texas, and then you got neither. But I know Alabama would very much like to have one or the other. There's also a third guy out there who's very good that we can't forget about, and that's Ford at Duncanville, Texas, who's also an edge guy. Again, you're not going to sign 3. I'm not even sure you can sign 2, but he is still out there. So if Griffin goes to Texas and Brooks goes to Georgia, you still have KJ Ford from Duncanville, Texas, who's outstanding. He's very good. I don't know that he's going to be ranked as high as the other 2, or I'm not sure where they fall in the rankings. But Griffin or Brooks is kind of how I'm looking at it. Either one would be a home run. I'm particularly a fan of Griffin, but either one would be a home run. And if I'm projecting, like, well, we listen to the show, so y'all make wild ass guesses. I'll say Alabama gets Griffin and Brooks goes to Georgia, but that's the wild guess, and that could end up really, really wrong. That's just just literally a wild guess.
Yeah, I think you're right about the money thing, and I wish we could get both. This is one that, like, I'm pro. Let's spend a little extra money on.
Yeah, well, they could play other spots too. That's how you could justify it. I mean, even though they're Wolves, we're recruiting them to play the Wolf spot for Christian Robinson. These guys are so gifted; they could also play inside. It's conceivable they could even grow into bandits, but I think they're so athletic they could play other spots. Inside linebacker's a spot where recruiting isn't going as spectacular as you would like, to be honest. I mean, that's one spot where Alabama may be missing on some targets. I saw one person out there say, gosh, how is this possible? You have 3 senior inside linebackers. You need to recruit well at that spot. That's 50% dead on and 50% off. And the dead on part is you have a lot to sell here at inside linebacker. You know, these inside linebackers coming in and you're selling them. Look at the opportunity we have. Deontay Lawson, senior. Justin Jefferson, senior. Nakai Hill-Green, senior. It's a heck of an opportunity for you. In that sense, this is a little bit of a fail. On the other sense, you're not recruiting true freshmen to come in and replace those guys. And I don't care if it's Sincere Johnson. I mean, you're not going to project that he comes in as an immediate starter. That's what people do. That's not what coaches do. I mean, they don't assume true freshmen are showing up to solve everything. They're just hopeful true freshmen end up being as good as they think they might be. But you're not recruiting true freshmen to replace starters immediately. If it happens, awesome. But that's not the plan going in. To replace those 3 seniors, you're going to do that with 2 things: kids already on the roster or the transfer portal.
Yep, I agree. Now, in the next segment, we're going to bring up number 43 in your roster countdown. We're also going to begin talking about the visitors coming in this weekend, and this weekend is a monster weekend. But I have to shine a little light here on every Alabama's fan's life here. Look, we've all heard about how the last couple of years Auburn's recruiting gangbusters. They've just been awesome. Hugh Freeze, best to ever do it. These last couple of weeks haven't been great for Auburn, though. And apparently this came out just late last night. That Cole Pinkston with the On 3 Auburn site had a RPM pick for them to land Dalton Toothman, who's a 3-star offensive lineman from down in South Mississippi, apparently a pretty good player. But he just came out last night and said, I don't like this RPM pick anymore. I think he's going to Mississippi State.
Wow.
And that is very interesting. And I don't know exactly what's going on, but I'm I've told some of my Auburn friends, and they've sort of pushed back. But the narrative that, Auburn's just got to win and then everybody will flip, that's kind of what they're hanging on to right now. I disagree with that 100% because but I just find it interesting that they can't go get a guy from down in South Mississippi. Now, again, he's in Mississippi, but I bet you from wherever he is to Auburn or Mississippi State is about the same distance and ain't too much further. And we all think Auburn's a better program than Mississippi State. So why is Mississippi State winning out on this? That's interesting.
One thing that comes to mind for me in terms of potential explanation, we've been talking about on our show about how big power programs, and unfortunately Auburn probably fits in that profile, they need to sign a lot of players who don't cost too much so you can fill out your roster but not blow the budget. Mississippi State's keep in mind, Mississippi State's got the same $20.5 million to spend.
Yeah.
Maybe that kid's a little bit more of a priority for Mississippi State.
Yeah, true.
So so there could have been a big rev share difference. Could have been.
That's where if you're caught if you're like a upper mid or just a mid-tier team, you could really be caught in the wash here because the upper level teams, they already have an advantage. The Bamas, the Ohio States, Texases, they got an advantage because the brand, the exposure, all that stuff. The lower tier teams may beat you out financially.
Yeah,
because
that's exactly
the guys
right.
that you're backups. You know what I mean? So then you're sort of caught in the middle. But I'll give Baked Ram poster on the Auburn on 3 board, the corner. He had a good line. He said, Toothman is a good culture fit in Starkville. We're looking for more of teeth men. That's pretty good. I applaud you, sir.
Shout out to humor.
All right, so visitors
still laughing.
That's very, very good. So visitors this weekend, interesting. CD Morgan, EJ Crowell, Tank Jones, Matt Sutter, Zay Hall.
They're not all 5 stars, but to me, all 4 of them are 5 stars. And by that, I mean, Alabama wants those kids. Those are we talk too much here about, well, you can't spend too much money. Okay, spend all the money there.
Well, I will tell you something. The 6 guys that I think there are more guys coming in than this. This is just the 6 off top of our heads. Crowell, Morgan, Tank Jones, Max Sutter, Zay Hall, Owen Cabell. Mm-hmm. I think Alabama wants all 6 of them. I think they take commitments from them right now.
I do, and I would, if we're doing the class list, and we didn't really do one this year, but if I was doing it right now, I would include all 6 of those guys. I believe that they will all choose Alabama, and some of those are earthquake-sized commitments. I mean, I know Alabama's been the favorite for Kroll and CD Morgan for quite some time, and Suter, that could go in a couple of different directions. Tank Jones, gosh, he just got back from Oregon. I think he's been to A&M. I mean, all these, frankly, big spenders love Tank Jones. I think Tank is going to pick Alabama, but I'm a little more shaky on that than Kroll and Morgan, for instance. But I think it's going to happen.
That one's going to last a little longer.
Yeah, and I think now Cabell and Zay Hall are in a different bucket. But I like them. I think they're worth the take based on upside, and they're not top 100 players, so they're not going to cost you an arm and a leg. But they're very talented kids, especially Cabell. Man, he has some really nice tape, and he proved at Alabama he's got good track times. I think he ran a 10.7 100 meters. I mean, and he's not small either. I mean, I'm a fan of him for sure.
I like him a lot. Okay, we're going to talk more about these visitors in the upcoming podcast. We have gotten to number 43 in your countdown, and number 43. What a great number. I mean, Antonio Langham. I mean,
both said Langham.
Well, I mean, the thing about Langham, I don't know how many other 43s I can name. Can you?
No,
Langham was what a cool thing to do. And last night, my wife texted me because my daughter's playing academy soccer this year. And my daughter, unbelievably, is very good. Like she's really good. I know nothing about soccer, and I coached them to several championships.
You know she's good.
Because I had my daughter and about 3 other girls that were all about as good as her. And I just said, y'all go get them. And if they didn't get them, I'd yell at them and then they'd go get them. And then we won games. But, and that's what's
You're a real Ted Lasso. You're a real Ted Lasso.
Yeah. So, but she texted me last night and said, hey, they assigned Sela a number and they just do it alphabetically. And she got number 31. I don't know if she'll love that number. She goes, but we can have any number beyond 38 because all the rest of them are spoken for. And I said, well, let's do 91. Number one, it was Dennis Rodman's number. And I'll never forget that because you know what Dennis Rodman said about that? He said, it's the furthest number away from 0 I could think of because they wouldn't let us have number 0. And I thought that is both awesome and sad. And it's also Sela's birthday backwards. It's not, she's born on the 19th and it's in 91. And so I thought that was cool. But going back to like 43 will forever be Langham. It's just
a unique number. It's a unique number. Players should want unique numbers, not the number that ever. Why would a wide receiver at Alabama want to wear number 8? That's what.
Or number 9.
Yeah, I mean that. But anyway, Jalen Mbakwe is 43. We probably could have spent the whole show on him. I probably get more questions about him. He's literally not
number 43.
No, he's number 43 on the roster ranking. He's on the roster ranking. He's number 43. That's going to be low to a lot of people, and maybe even a little disappointing. Here's the thing: I think Mbakwe is going to be a great wide receiver, and I think if he was a first-team receiver this fall and a significant part of the rotation, Alabama will be fine because this dude's good. He is a 5-star level athlete, and he is no doubt a great wide receiver prospect. I have him 43 because I hope he proves me wrong because I root for Bach. I mean, he's easy to love. He is not going to play in front of Ryan. I don't think he's going to play in front of Germ. I doubt he's in front of Zay Horton. Maybe the best he can do is 4th, but you got Rico Scott. You got Jalen Hale. You got Cole Adams, who's starting games last year. All these guys have been playing wide receiver at college football longer than Bach has. What about yesterday? Lazier Brooks that we had at 44. Is Mbakwe definitely going to be ahead of Lazier Brooks in the pecking order? I'm not sure. I mean, I got him one spot ahead here on the roster rank. I think he's really difficult to rank because, in essence, this is a second consecutive true freshman season for him. I mean, he's a true freshman a year ago, moved up, though, all the way to Alabama's third corner. I watched the Tennessee game yesterday, which is deserving of its own show. Bach made a couple of great plays in that game at cornerback against Tennessee in Knoxville as a true freshman. Also got beat on a 61-yard play down the field. More of a great play on Tennessee's part than a failure on Bach's part. But just the fact that he was we got to remember, he was a significant player on the Alabama defense second half of last season as basically Alabama's third corner. He ain't going to be the third receiver this fall. Alabama's just very deep and good there. That's why I have him here. I can't help but think he'll be more involved than I foresee just simply because the kid is so gifted.
Here's my hope, because frankly, I don't see his making a big splash at the receiver spot. Here's my hope. Mbakwe embraces return roles, and that blossoms into something bigger.
Yeah, and that end-around receiver thing that we did with Kendrick Law last year might be ideal.
That's a Mbakwe thing.
Yeah, might be ideal.
But the only problem is every time we put him in the game, they're going to be like,
here it goes. Well, that's what was happening with Kendrick Law, who either made a big play or was thrown for a 3-yard loss on that all the time, because I think that's exactly right. It was almost a bit of a tell.
I'm going to end with a quick story. I meant to say this the other day, but it happened on last Friday night, so I kind of forgot about it until last night. So, Jimmy, Friday night, my daughter and wife had gone up the street. We have a bunch of kids my daughter's age up there, and so they'd gone up there to hang out. And I was just at home chilling, and at 52, there's nothing better than being home by yourself, just watching stuff with nobody bugging you. It's awesome. Well, I got hungry. We didn't have anything to eat. So I saw a commercial for Domino's. So I ordered a Domino's pizza, stuffed crust pizza. You know, you've seen it. They got this new stuffed crust pizza that they've never done before. Well, Domino's has this tracker, right? And so like after about 30 minutes, I start following the tracker of where the car is. And I see the car and I'm like, oh, he's right by my house. Oh, he keeps going down 280. And he keeps going down. He goes down to some other houses and some other neighborhoods. I'm like, what? And then I wait 15 more minutes and he's still in those other neighborhoods. So I called Domino's. I'm like, hey, did y'all have my address right? They're like, yeah, he had to go to these other houses first, but he's coming to you next. I mean, I wasn't complaining. I was just wondering. About 20 minutes later, I'm like, man, this guy's still in here. And then about 10 more minutes after that, I finally see some lights pull into my driveway. And he parks like super close to my stoop, right, in this old beat up looking car. And he gets out, and I open the door as he gets out, and he sort of huffily walks up to me and just sort of shoves the pizza into my hand, right? I don't think anything of it because I'm like, hey, I probably would be a little huffy too late at night. And it's key. I should have said this a long time ago. I'm wearing this old Alabama logo shirt that I've had forever. I've worn it on the show and I love it. I've had it for like 15 years. It's super soft. Got it from Victoria's Secret of all places. And
that story right there.
Also got my underwear from there.
Tell the t-shirt from Victoria's Secret story on tomorrow's show.
So anyway, he sort of shoves the piece in my hand, and I'm turning to close my front door, and take the pizza. And he says, War Eagle, and gets in his car. And I go, yeah. And I just sort of, and I shut the door because if you ever, like somebody caught you off guard with saying something you didn't expect at all. And as soon as the door shut, I was like, oh, I should have lit into this guy. Because number one, I'd already paid and I already tipped for the pizza online. So I was like, okay, now I'm mad. And he's already taken off. I was like George Costanza.
And the pizza was late. And it was very
George
late.
Costanza with the jerk store. I was like, jerk store. and so he's taken off. And then I sit down and I'm like, do I call Domino's and tell them? Like, and what do I do? I mean, the more I thought about that, I was like, well, what kind of weirdo calls up and goes, your guy said War Eagle.
Your guy said War Eagle to me.
I mean, I was
they'll say, thanks for calling, Karen.
You know what it reminds me of? A long time ago, there was a gentleman that worked here, and my father, when he was president then, he had to sue him because the guy left and did some bad stuff. And so they were going to court. And the guy comes up to Dad and like, this guy's a huge guy, but Dad's like, I don't give a dang what you are. And the guy comes up to him and goes, glad to see you gained your weight back, and then just walks away. And Dad was like, what? And he's like, Dad said, yeah, this sounds right. I'm calling you a thief and you call me fat? Something's wrong. I'm suing you for stealing from me, and you just call me fat for no reason. So anyway, I just had to say, and it reminds me of the old joke that Alabama and Auburn fan, everybody's used this. How do you pay an Auburn fan? I mean, how do you get an Auburn fan to get off your porch? You pay him for the pizza. That's literally what I did, and he still said War Eagle to me. I didn't say anything to him. I just had my Alabama shirt on. So, and he didn't know I called and asked why they weren't there. He couldn't have known that. Like, they wouldn't have cared. I was just making sure he had my right address. So anyway, all right, that's going to do it for today's podcast. We'll be back tomorrow with more. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.